Hello and welcome to the show. I'm back at the Endurodrome driving 3 more cars till destruction. And we start today with a Skoda. This, the 130L, it is a rear-engine, rear-wheel drive car, which is an interesting combination. Not one that you see particularly often in the likes of Beam, but one that should be quite interesting. I mean, survivability-wise, apparently the distance counter is liking to go up a lot on its own. I'm not sure the distance counter is going to be... It's not massively accurate at the best of times. I'm not sure it's going to be particularly accurate at all with this. But we are going to give it a go. It's not massively quick, this car. It will potentially be fast enough to make the jump, but it will be an only just sort of a make the jump kind of a thing. It did not look very healthy on that landing. The poor front wheels of the car did not look. I'm not sure if we've already got suspension issues with this, but I guess we will find out. Ooh, radiator's gone, front left suspension is gone. Oh, both of the front. Okay, the Skoda does not have very strong shocks at all, in fact. Now I'm hoping potentially with the engine over the back, we might not have so much weight crashing that front into the floor and get it stuck in the same way, oh dear, that we got the Coronet. The same kind of smash up the front so badly that the car then can't continue, or the car gets stuck and becomes a donut machine. I think we can potentially avoid that. The radiator is gone. Now that means we're going to overheat. It will probably overheat within about 3 or 4 laps. The general rate, unless for whatever reason something else about the car upsets it. Oh, we've lost a rear... Oh god, the wheels are not faring too well around here. We've lost a tyre. The entire rear axle is going quite badly now. That's not the sort of things I wanted to see on lap number 1. I mean, you expect to see them over time, but on lap number 1, I don't think the overheating is going to be what gets this car. I'll be honest with you guys. I don't think it's going to be overheating that gets this. It's suspension-wise is very, very poorly, and as that gives up, it will tend to lead to other issues. Clonking the engine, bending steering, losing wheels or losing drive shafts are the likely ways. You know what I said about it probably being able to make the big jump at the back of the circuit? We need about 60 miles an hour if we are going to make that. If we don't do 60 there, we're going to have a real big hit on the landing, which you don't really want. It's just asking for more damage. We're probably not going to do that now, considering the level of damage we've got on our car. It does still turn, but it's very sluggish. We are, I think, struggling to put a bit of pad on, especially with the wheels being as buckled. You know, they're pointing at wonky angles, and you've just got to constantly fight and counter steer. In fact, we're really struggling. We're definitely not making 60. It might actually be one of the slowest. If anything, we were going slow enough that it didn't actually matter too much through there. All of the wheels, like a clown car at the moment. The front left's really had it. Front left's absolutely had it. I mean, we are still somehow steering. If this makes it over the slow, it's actually going to avoid the speed bump. It still made it over them. We didn't like incidentally sneak our way around. We have actually somehow steered our way over those speed bumps. The rule in terms of crawling, the car must be able to do 20 miles an hour within a reasonable amount of space. If it can't do that, it will be counted out as essentially immobilized, just so that something doesn't limp its way around about 5 miles an hour. Have seen it happen with cars around these sort of series in the past. We must be able to make these corners without grabbing reverse. Somehow that front is still steering. I think there's a lot of front camber. I think the front left pretty much had it, to be honest with you. The front right doesn't look like it's got any steering, but I think it is still just about doing enough. Oh, there we go. We had to grab the brake to make that one happen. Yeah, okay, so the front left doesn't really do anything. The only good news is at least that it is locked in position and not dragging the car around randomly. Not too much, anyway. This Skoda has not had a happy fun time here. This Skoda has not had a happy fun time at all. It's really struggling now on the driving side of it. Like, this is just not... Oh, there's a wheel. Oh, okay, it's not an important wheel. I guess that was a spare wheel somewhere that's come off. Could I potentially get the spare wheel and, well, I say put it back? It's not really going to help because it's all the steering that's gone. It's not the tyre. I mean, one of the rear tyres is gone, I guess. That would be an interesting addition if you could do it on Beam. If you could do like tyre change, like if a car is carrying a bunch of spare tyres in one of these series and it punches one, if you could get out and stop and replace the tyre. I mean, either way, Yeah, this is... I don't even know how it's still got some steering going on with how buckled that steering rack is. I think the left might even still be doing some element of steering. It's not much. It might just about be enough. Oh, this is also not helping the engine because I've got to work this car so hard. I mean, I'm having to drive... Well, I have to drive the cars quick around here as part of the series. It's got to be driven hard around this circuit. But this is having to be really worked. I mean, I can't really let off the throttle. I can't actually not let the engine over it. I've got to keep my foot down because otherwise you're going to get bogged in there. We can't let the car have any sort of easy time. We can't really lift off the throttle at all around here. I guess the good thing is we're not going to be going so fast to really hit hard on a landing of a jump. If this goes out from overheating, I will be amazed, all things considered. It shouldn't. There's something surely is going to finish it off. Oh! No, still the rear axle's connected. I mean, we haven't had a car grind to a halt going up a hill yet. I'm sure we will see something that is unable to climb its way up a hill through damage. Here we still hit that 20 mile an hour. Is there a wheel pointing straight? I think the rear right is the closest to straight, but I mean the wheel's not circular anymore. Oh! That was a big moment. Still, we've got enough steering to keep the vehicle under control, but that front left is... Oh no, it's pinged itself back out again. I'm bouncing along there with little in the way of control. Oh! Okay, we are not... But that actually, I mean, it looked pretty bad. It's not actually done anything worse than what was already done to the car, quite frankly. If anything, we've lost some weight. It was a useful, important weight reduction session right there for the Skoda. Front left is just flapping. It's just flailing. Well, it's failed. It's failed long ago. It's just flailing around. I can't believe this might make it. It's going to be very close to making a third lap. Whether it's going to expire beforehand or not, I'm not sure. It's very close. It's crabbing horrendously down here. Oh, that's not a good one. That's a heavy impact on the underside of the car. Are we going to come back down? Yes. Can we still limp, crawl your way forward? It's so broken. Tell you what, this might be one of the more impressive breakdowns we have seen. I think we've lost steering. I don't think I can steer that anymore. I think the chassis is so buckled. We can't even get the car out in reverse. I think it is that wedge on a tree. I think that is out with steering. I don't think that steering is going to be able to do any more in all of that. I don't think that wheel connects to... No, I think that's just going straight now. That is a Skoda out with... I mean, a lot of failures went on with the suspension right there. The one wheel that was vaguely pointing the right direction was also quite square. Not the shape you need from a wheel. Every shock absorber was broken, I believe, in that car. The rear left is at a really wonky angle. The front left's not connected at all. The front right was so cambered that by the end of it we just had, yeah, you can actually see. So that's steering left, that's steering right. There is now no movement to the right most of the time. So that's a dead steering. I will say that car held on for way longer than I thought it was going to, especially after all of those suspension failures very early on in its run. We move from rear-engined rear-wheel drive to front-engined front-wheel drive. This is the Soilad 4000, essentially an estate version of, well, essentially a slightly rebodied version of the Legrand, and this is an estate version of that. Powered by a V6, it is an okay amount of power. I mean, it's not the maddest amount of power. I've also entirely forgot, so not that a little initial jump forward really mattered, but I had entirely forgotten to do the reset the distance counter, but there we go. Yeah, I'm not sure about this vehicle. Has the Legrand driven around here? I don't think it has done, actually, as of yet, but these sort of cars, sometimes they can be very good. If they've got the Wobblematic suspension, enough speed to clear, you know, the jumps that need clearing, and... Oh, not another, that looks like another collapsed suspension at the front. Certainly quite heavily damaged suspension at the front. Yeah, potential for these cars to survive quite well is always up there. Front-wheel drive, of course, has its inherent risks. Oh, we lost the radiator already. Bugger. Although that suspension is gone and done what I think it's gone and done, it probably won't matter, because I suspect it'll die before we overheat. front-wheel drive, front engines, a lot of the hits, funnily enough, are going to happen at the front of the car. Across jumps, you're going to be hitting that into the ground. And, well, if you snap a wheel, you snap a drive shaft, or any bit of the engine, it's going to take a battering, basically. I'm already pulling, I think, to the left slightly. We are across the rocks, though, without too much trouble. That front, yeah, the suspension's in trouble. Now that's, I mean, in terms of spectacle, I'm okay with that. I'd rather have cars go out with suspension weirdness. We've already seen a lot of suspension weirdness around here, which is part of the reason why I picked this particular circuit. It is very good at killing cars, not through, you know, one big hit, one big crash on the landing of a jump, but through repeated battering. And it's often the suspension that will give way first, and that leads to other issues, steering, chassis, or you just clonk the drive shaft on something because the car's bouncing around like mad, which is probably going to happen quite a lot with this one. Let's try and not go into that bit of concrete over there. When the cars are bouncing around and they're already quite broken, you don't actually have a lot of control as to where it's aiming for down there. And sometimes when you think you're safe to, you know, you'll go past it, you actually don't, and you smack into it and then things go badly. Are you going to be going fast enough here, car? Oh, it's going to be very, very close. Oh, that's a big crunch on the floor. Now, the good news with the soil out here is that at least there is a lot... That was a sickening crunch. There is at least a lot of bodywork between the front and, well, the wheels. There's just a big old overhang there, which does help in terms of that now that the radiator's gone, that can take as many hits as it likes, provided it doesn't bend downwards, I guess. If it bends downwards, it might go underneath the front, and then we'll not be able to drive at all. However, if that keeps taking hits rather than battering the wheels, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Oh, come on. Across the speed bumps we go. Oh. Are we beached? Oh, no, there we go. Okay. I think maybe the angle we were at was... We had one wheel spinning in the air and one wheel on the ground, not able to do anything. Okay, minor panic averted there. We are really bouncing. We are really, really bouncing around now. That's fine. Rear suspension is holding up okay on this car. Sometimes if... It's rare, but if the rear suspension goes first, you then get a really bad handling car because you have the back of the car... Oh, I'm not really steering down there. You have the back of the car constantly bouncing around, makes it very difficult to drive. But it is very difficult to have a rear suspension collapse without front suspension having gone first. Oh, we are struggling with steer. We are only just making it through those chicanes. It is very, very close to not making it through there that time around. Okay, I mean, temperature-wise, it is getting warm. It is getting warm. It probably wouldn't crawl its way onto a fourth lap. It doesn't quite have to work as hard as the Skoda in terms of, you know, being able to move. It has got more power. This is the V6 version, fairly entry-level version, but it is still, you know, a decent amount of power. That steering is very, very buckled. Just seeing how much, I mean, we are having to do probably 60% steering to the left to get the car to go in a straight line, which, you know, is manageable at the moment. However, if it gets much more, you'll get to a point where holding full left is then actually travelling straight. It's what killed the Skoda in the end. It's what you often see put cars out in... Oh, when it's a steering failure, that's often what will be what's put the car out. Across the rocks we go. A big crunch, but no real harm done. We are still good to carry on here. I think we still might just about be fast enough to make it up these hills. We might make it across the jump. We might actually go out in a very similar way to the Skoda. That engine has now started getting warm. I think I saw engine torque reduced from the overheating and the damage that is coming with it. Come on, make it on towards a third lap here. You can do it. The Regency did it with the entire rear axle bouncing around. No, it wasn't overheating, but it did it with the entire rear axle bouncing around. Can our estate car... We can't have two cars going out in the same way at the same place, one after the other. That just won't do. I think we took some more engine punishment in all of that. I mean, it is struggling to get up this hill now. We are going to go down a gear. Might get it going. It's just going to overheat the engine, I think, trying to drag itself up here. There we go. Now there's a bit of a downhill. We've got to go for the acceleration. Please do enough, car. Please do enough. It's not going to be anywhere near enough to make it up here. We're going to smack the front on the floor. Though we weren't going too fast, so we might have got away without terminal damage from that one. Still not. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. I mean, the temperature gauge. We ignore the temperature gauge. It's not looking great for the car. Can we make it across here? Not really very well. We are across. We are. I'm half expecting one of those clunks to just be wheel axle gone across. That's the sort of thing that is a wheel axle gone. Oh no! We have lost a front left tyre. That is the real least of our concerns at the moment. Front left tyre going is complete and utter least of our concerns. Come on, make it onto a third lap. You might not be able to go further than the Regency. You might not go much further than a third, than just crawling onto your third lap. But it would be nice to see you make it all that way. Come on, come on with your buggered suspension. You're going to go further than the Skoda. The oil's overheating. Come on, engine. Just live. There we are. That's a third lap. There goes the exhaust. Exhaust is gone. I think that's the car done. I'm going to be honest. I think that's the engine had it. Oh, it's still got some more life in it than I thought. I think maybe where it's so buckled, it's actually the diffs causing it grief. The car is so buckled. Oh, that's us dead. That's us dead. Front wheel axle. We will not have any drive now. I'm not surprised about that. I think the engine has just overheated after that fact as well. But the repeated battering on the front of the car was enough. I was right. It didn't go out from overheating. I mean, it went out from catastrophic suspension damage, eventually leading to a wheel axle failure. It didn't go out from overheating. I mean, we've had 2 cars today and 2 spectacular suspension failures. What will car number 3 bring? Our final vehicle today is the Bolide mid-engined rear-wheel drive, well, race car, essentially. I've gone for the Group 4 version, so this is, yeah, a full-on race car. Now, mid-engined, pretty good, actually. They're more difficult to really do serious damage to, I guess you could say. The engine in this is, yeah, pretty sturdy. The wheels are... I mean, the wheel suspension are a concern, as you could already see. It's a bit bouncy. It's quite bouncy in here. This is a rough course, as we've seen, designed to shake suspensions apart. And when you have very stiff suspension, like we have seen in the likes of the Sunburst, it tends to mean the car gets bounced around. Now, sometimes that bouncing around can mean you end up jumping speed bumps in places, or you end up mitigating damage because, well, you're bounced into the air. It does also often mean that hits on speed bumps can be quite catastrophic. It's not really ideal. Wobble-matic suspension is a better way to go. Although, race suspension can be quite strong. It can, you know, take a lot more punishment before it actually breaks. Whereas we saw already with the Skoda and the Soylent and with the Coronet, those suspensions collapse, and when they collapse, the car gets slammed, and then you've got real problems. So at least this might have some suspension. Some suspension trouble at the end of the day is better than none. That's kind of the important thing, even if it's bouncing you around. Like, bouncing around into the air is better than crashing your face into the floor. Although sudden kicks of oversteer are not helpful. Oh, in the Bolide, I'm actually quite surprised we got away with that without doing a lot more damage to the car. I think we've pinged a front wheel about. Still driving relatively well. Oh, we don't want to land into a pothole. That would not be good, landing a wheel into a pothole. Could very easily... I think the last time we ran this in a Destruction series, it died because a wheel pinged off. So, I think it was a rear wheel, actually, at Baja Rama, at least, that came off, and then we had no drive for the car. Whoop! That is a typical supercar track-based suspension on this circuit. You're just bouncing along down this straight, and there's nothing you can do about it, aside from going really, really slowly, which, you know, at the end of the day I could. With every car I could go really slowly and keep everything alive indefinitely. It's not the point here. We've got to be driven hard, and being driven hard down that section in a car with sport suspension, race suspension, ends up in car getting bounced around no end. We have got good amount of speed over the jump. That's why having speed is nice. We don't really take too much damage. There's a bit of wheeling going on, but we don't really take too much damage from all of that. And we are across the speed bumps without too many issues. For a first lap, I mean, this is looking pretty good. First lap, I mean, as good as a supercar is going to look around here. No major damage. No major problem. I mean, I've got to watch not spinning it myself. It's, you know, a full-on race car on slicks, on dirt, so that could be an issue. It's probably more likely to be spun around than most of the cars. Incidentally, I think the radiator's gone. I didn't see where the radiator went. Not sure at what bit the radiator. It might have gone there, actually, bouncing across the... like having the nose dive into a speed bump, potentially. Okay, radiator is gone. Again... oh, we lost the back of it. Ticking time bomb. I could see this car making it to an overheat. I feel like this is the sort of car that goes out in a one big hit. Whoa, like so. That was in the air going across the speed bumps, and then you have no steering, funnily enough. That's the sort of hit. Oh, we have tripoded. We've actually got the car. We've tweaked the chassis to the point where it's only ever going to have 3 wheels on the ground. That's a new one. We have not had a permanent tripod car before. Yes, it was from a launched into a concrete barrier. That is a little problem for the diff. I can get away with it because it does seem to tend... it does trend to have the front wheel up in the air rather than the rear wheel up in the air, which does help me out a lot because then I can get some drive. Although we are still a very capable race car, so speeds are going to be high and now control is very low. Always a dangerous thing, although it might tripod back and then stop giving us drive at an important moment. Who knows? Who knows? Through the mud, I mean, the sheer power, the speed that this thing takes into the mud pit kind of fires it through most of the way without too many issues. Oh, that's a big jump. That's not particularly what we want to see, although it might have actually tweaked the chassis back down again. I mean, the suspension's really buggered on the back. The suspension's had it on the back right. That's not a happy suspension. However, it may have just tweaked the chassis. Oh, that's not a happy place. Can we get it, drag it out? We can't drag it out ourselves, which means it is time for the node grabber. Not the worst thing for this car. It's not the worst place. It's a place where cars are going to get stuck. With the rocks, the low supercars are going to get stuck down there. Perfectly allowed to drag them out if they are beached because of a jump, etc. If they get beached because of their chassis being buckled, well, that's a different thing. That puts them out. But if it's because of a jump and a landing, they are allowed to. Okay, we've got now no suspension travel at the back. We have got not too much steering at the front. It's pretty poorly. It's pretty poorly. The engine's very warm and it's going to start expiring in the near future. I mean, we might make it further than the Skoda, I think. I mean, we're not really losing power yet from the engine, which is good. We have cars going a very, very similar distance today, it would seem. I'm not going to even be able to... It's really difficult trying to get that to full throttle down there. I've just got no control over where it's going. It's just pointing one way, then the next, and then we've bounced around in a circle again. Now we've taken some engine torque reduced damage. It's not long for this world, the bolide. Ow. It is not long for this world at all. I think, again, it's another car, even without the overheating. This thing would not be lasting very long anymore. The steering's had it. The suspension's had it. It would probably clip something. It's whether the wheel axles last longer than the engine. That's what we've got to, that's what we're doing here. Can we make it further than that Soilad? Can we make it further than the Soilad? We've just got to make it across the jumps. I mean, we might be able to roll further, to be honest, if the wheel axles don't give up, or if it doesn't lose drive coming up a hill. Come on, don't give up now. You can't be beaten by the Soilad. It is going to go further. It is going to go further than the Soilad. How much further, though, is the question. I mean, it might stand a chance of going further than the Regency. That went out... Well, we've got to get across the dirt section, round the next corner, and the Regency went out on one of the speed bumps on the outside of that corner. So if we can just keep limping our way, we are losing power now. I mean, I'm full throttle and we're barely doing 40 miles an hour. The engine's... Oh, the engine's gone, actually locked it all up, so I can't... There's nothing I can do. The engine just seized everything up, down the... or through the car, if you like. Couldn't actually coast with that engine locked solid. And that's that. That's it. That's all the bolide is going to manage. I mean, it put in a good show for a, race car, essentially, around it. Yeah, I pinged it off a concrete barrier. That bent the chassis, but it wasn't that really killed it. Some of the later jumps would do a lot worse damage to the suspension, and in the end, the overheating actually got it. I don't think it was going to live too much longer anyway. I think we would have seen a wheel axle come off. Whether it was the front or rear, I don't know, but I feel like one of them would have, and that probably would have either lost steering or lost drive. But... again, considering a car very, very not built for this sort of thing, that's not a bad distance at all. on to the leaderboard. And the Bolide is the best of the day today, going into a 9th place. I'm not sure about the distance count. I think the distance counter on the Bolide is quite undercounting. The Regency we know was massively overcounting with all of its damage. But yeah, the Bolide didn't quite make it as far with that engine overheating and locking everything up. The Soylad did okay considering the damage to the suspension early on. It made its way on to a lap number 3. Although, perhaps unsurprising, huge amounts of damage being done to the front of that car eventually. A wheel axle gave way, no drive. The engine had pretty much expired at that point anyway. The Skoda, that is down in 14th place. Still not a terrible showing, actually, from that car. Giving up, well, I mean, a fraction before the Pursue. The Pretend Supra lost its drive shaft on the speed bumps. The Skoda went off on the jump. Again, very early suspension damage to that car, both that and the Soylad having similar issues, suspension collapsing, and it's only a matter of time until something's going to get really quite buckled on the front of the car. Spectacular failures, though, and at the end of the day, that is the important thing. That, though, is going to be it for this video. As ever, I shall link all the mods used in the description so you can download them and have a go with them yourself. But that'll be it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, a goodbye.